Some examples of public projects, you will find that they are dams, defense projects, highways, educational projects, and healthcare projects. In some countries, you will find highways projects are taken up through private projects, maybe in the form of BOT or BOLT, these type of contracts. But for our discussion purpose, we will assume that these highway projects are also undertaken by government agencies only. Now, many government projects, you will find that they cannot be evaluated strictly in commercial terms. When I say commercial terms, means maximization of profit or some monetary things. As far as government projects are concerned, the profit, the taxes, the payoff periods, all these terms you will find that they take a back seat. This is in contrast with private projects, which do give very serious importance to these things. Now, coming to this evaluation of public projects, you will find that this is primarily done because of scarcity of fund, because government has limited funds and they have to do a number of projects. So, they have to have certain mechanism which will tell them that at a given point of time, under a given constraint of fund, which projects should be taken up or which projects should be given the top priority. So, for this reasoning only we are trying to find a methodology which will tell me which projects to give priority. And of course, these priorities are set by certain criterion. So, those criterion also we will be seeing, and then through a problem, through an example, we will see how to do this type of analysis in real life situation. So, the basic objectives for carrying out such evaluation is to, first is to check the viability of the project. That means whether the project is viable or not. When you say viable, means whether the benefits are more than the cost. At least you should recover all your cost, then only we consider that project to be a viable project. Now, another objective is to, suppose you have 3 projects, now all of them are viable. Now, suppose you do not have sufficient fund to sponsor all these 3 projects. So, what I will do next? I will try to select the most viable project from a set of viable projects. I will have n number of viable projects with me, but I will be selecting only few. So, how to select those few among many? That would be our next objective. And finally, this is same as similar to ranking or prioritizing them, all the economically viable alternatives for a given situation. So, these are our primary objectives for evaluating public projects. Why we evaluate public projects? Because the government is supposed to do n number of things, whereas they do not have sufficient fund. So, naturally they would like to have some mechanism to give to identify those projects which are of importance. Now, yes, can you hear me? Benefit cost ratio we are going to define. You will find that this particular method is one of the most widely used methodology for evaluating public projects. Now, B by C ratio, we define it as the ratio of benefit to public and cost to the government. So, how do we define B by C ratio? It is benefit to public and cost to the government. So, this is how we define benefit cost ratio. Now, benefit cost ratio, you will find that this ratio can be obtained using any one of the analysis method that we have discussed, either the present worth analysis, future worth method, or annual equivalent method. Any one of these methods can be used for benefit cost ratio, but the precondition is that we must be able to identify the benefits and the cost. While calculating the benefit, we see what is the benefit to public, and while calculating the cost, we see what is the cost to the government. Now, you will find that this ratio is very sensitive one, and if you make any error in identifying the benefit and cost incorrectly, you will have error in your computations. So, it is very essential to understand what is there in your benefit and what is there in your cost. That is very essential part, because if you make mistake in identifying your numerator and denominator, you will get a very wrong figure. However, if you understand the definition very clearly, that means what is to be considered as benefit and what is to be considered as cost. Yes?
Would you revise the lecture because I finished? There was an interruption also. There was some problem from our side. Network problem, bandwidth problem from our internet service provider.
So, should I repeat it from beginning?
Just before 5 minutes, please. Beginning from the objectives of evaluation of public projects.
Okay, that I will clear your doubt at the later part of the lecture, right? Let us continue with the lecture.
Okay.
Fine. So, we were discussing about this benefit cost ratio, and as I told you, this is one of the most commonly and widely used method for evaluating public projects. Now, when you calculate benefit cost ratio, you have to keep benefit to the public in numerator and cost to the government in the denominator. This numerator and denominator you have to identify very clearly, otherwise you may calculate very wrong result for B by C ratio. But if you understand this benefit, what you consider as benefit and what you consider as cost, such problems should never arise, right? Now, when you have more than two alternative, as usual you have to use incremental analysis, because you want to know what is the B by C ratio for the additional investment that you are making in some project. This aspect we will cover through example. So, idea here is, if you have to rank more than two alternative, use incremental B by C analysis. That is very important, because we are interested in knowing that what is my B by C ratio for the additional money that I am investing in a project. Suppose one project is costing you 100 lakhs, another project may be costing you 150 lakhs, third project may be costing you 200 lakhs. Now, for each one of these projects, you know the associated benefit. Assume that your B by C ratio is more than 1 for all these cases. Now, in such cases, which one project you will be undertaking? That type of analysis we perform using incremental B by C analysis. We will see this. Now, what does this B by C ratio indicate? Suppose B by C ratio is greater than 1. let us say it is 1.5. What does this mean? It will indicate that every rupee or every dollar that you are spending or that the government is spending is giving a benefit of 1.5 times or $1.5 to the public. So, this is the meaning of B by C ratio of 1.5. What would be the meaning of B by C ratio of 2? Every dollar that you spend, you are getting a benefit of $2 for the public. Every dollar government is spending, public is getting a benefit of $2. So, that is how you identify, that is how you interpret the B by C ratio. If B by C ratio is exactly equal to 1, what does this mean? Benefit is just able to recover the cost. So, that we call B by C is equal to 1. If B by C is less than 1, say for example, B by C is 0.85, that means for every $1 the government is spending, the benefit to the public is just $0.85 or 85 cents. So, as per the philosophy of B by C ratio, government should not go for such projects. So, we will be considering only those projects as economically viable which are having a B by C ratio of more than 1. Now, we will consider one example. You can note down this example, please. It says a government is planning for a hydroelectric project. Now, what does this project provide? It provides flood control. It provides irrigation and recreation benefits. Now, the established benefits and cost of the 3 alternative projects are given in the table. I will give you the table in next slide. The interest rate or the discounting factor is to be used as 5%. Life of each of the alternative, let us say we call the alternative as X, Y and Z. You have to consider them as 50 years, 50. Now, our problem is to choose the best alternative. You understood the problem? Government has 3 alternatives for constructing a hydroelectric project. Now, the life of the project is 50 years for all the alternatives and the discount rate is 5%. Our problem is to identify the best alternative that the government should consider. Now, I will give you the table, you can note it down. All values are in million of rupees. So, for alternative X, Y and Z, you are given the initial cost, the annual power sales value, annual flood control value, annual irrigation benefit, annual recreation benefit, annual operation and maintenance. These values are given for all the 3 alternative X, Y and Z. Please note it down. For example, the initial cost for alternative X is 250 million. For Y, it is 350. For Z, it is 500 million. Annual power sales, if you are coming up with alternative X, is 10 million. These are annual values every year for next 50 years. For Y, this is 12 million. For Z, it is 18 million. The annual flood control, 2.5 million in case of X, 3.5 million in case of Y, 5 million in case of Z. Similarly, annual irrigation benefit 3.5 million for X, 4.5 million for Y, 6 million for Z, 1 million for X as far as annual recreation benefits are concerned, 2 millions from Y, 3.5 millions from Z. The annual operation and maintenance cost is given to be 2 million for alternative X, 2.5 million for alternative Y,